Hello, everyone, and welcome to Coffee with Cannon. I'm your host, Bill Cannon. I'm a retired 27-year veteran of the NYPD, and this is the daytime show where we just sort of talk to each other and say hello to everyone from all over the world coming in. I'm seeing a few people arriving. Where are my people from Ireland and England and South Africa? People from all over the world come in to listen to this. Yesterday, we did a little bit of a somber show based on the that high-rise fire in the Bronx, a horrendous situation. And I had Bill Ryan on with me, a retired NYPD first grade detective out of the arson and explosion squad. And I'm going to give you an update today on that horrific fire. And one piece of good news is initially it was reported that 19 people had died, including 9 children, and I believe that total has been downgraded to 17 people, and I believe it went down to 7 children. Still equally as horrific, many other people, hurt and suffering, people in the hospital. So, this is, I think, the worst fire. Catherine D, hello, how are you? Crowley, Crowley, how are you? Seeing folks arrive in the chat. Kathy Bates, Marie Green, hello, how are you guys doing? Tina Wright, Time Traveler, Lorenzo, Antonio, how are you guys? One of the things we learn, and I think we all know this, you don't need to learn it from me, is that in fires, more people die, of course, from the smoke than they do from the flames. And that's the old expression, where there's smoke, there's fire, but the smoke is the more deadly of the two. The smoke can kill you almost faster and far away from the fire. It can kill you. It can cause people to die that are on different floors. Totally different floors. Many people were on high. The fire started on the third floor. Many people on the upper floors, a family of 5, were all killed as they tried to flee upward instead of getting away from the smoke. And I'm in no way blaming them for what they did. When you're trying to flee smoke, you're just trying to save your own life. How horrendous! I'm going to play a little bit of some news reports on this, and just again, one of the most horrific fires in New York City history. I'm sure if you went back to the whole history of the city, I think one of the worst was one of those textile fires back in I think the early 1900s. But with the technology today, these type of fires shouldn't be occurring. So we're going to take a look at a little bit of this news report. Okay.
After yesterday's deadly apartment building fire, unimaginable heartbreak is really the only way to describe the emotions now settling in. Some people are still not in contact with relatives who were victims, leading to thoughts of the worst. In 1 hour, there will be a special prayer vigil at the scene for all of those involved. And new at 11, Cardinal Timothy Dolan visited the scene of the fire this morning and stopped at the firehouse to greet the firefighters who worked so hard to extinguish the flames and rescue the victims. We have live team coverage of the deadly high-rise fire. News 4's Jessica Cunnington is at St. Barnabas Hospital with the latest on the victims. But we begin at the scene with News 4's Tracy Strahan. And Tracy, Mayor Adams is emphasizing today the close the door mantra.
And that's something the FDNY is here echoing as well, Jen. They're on the corner. The safety unit from the fire department is here trying to get the word out about how to stay safe for residents. But just down the block, you could see this 19-story building where that fire was engulfed. Many people trying to get back inside to get their essentials. But unfortunately, they're broken down by emotion. Daylight didn't dry the tears of residents who survived one of the largest building fires the city has ever seen.
I did not sleep. I was crying in my sleep. I was shaking. I know one woman in the third floor, 3 children gone. And another African lady in 19th floor, 3 children is gone.
Crews suited up to clean damage left behind on each floor of this 19-story building on East 181st Street, hours after flames broke out on a third-floor duplex.
When I opened my door, I cannot even see nowhere in the hallway to go.
About 200 firefighters scrambled to the building, housing 120 units around 11 o'clock Sunday morning. Fire alarms were blaring, but this structure wasn't built with fire escapes, meaning the stairwells meant to be used as exits were the only way out. And survivors described feeling their way to safety in the dark.
My wife and myself, and us in the darkness coming down, and finding me to come outside, but it was not easy, really.
Thank God that we had the duplex, because maybe could have died in there with that smoke.
Authorities say a malfunctioning space heater in a bedroom is to blame for the fire. But because the door to that apartment was left open when the residents escaped, it spread. Questions remain about if the doors, which are supposed to be self-closing, possibly malfunctioned.
We have a law here in New York City that requires doors to close automatically. We are looking at, through the investigation with the fire marshals, who will be extremely thorough in their investigation. We're looking to determine if there was some form of malfunctioning of the doors.
You know, it's the tragedy doesn't make it any lessen if there was malfeasance in any of this. One of the problems that we hear about is that the fire alarms or the smoke detectors went off numerous times every day. So if there's the old expression, the boy who cried wolf. So maybe many people were ignoring the fact that the fire smoke detectors were going off because they were regularly going off every day. And if that's the case, that is just horrendous. But you know that could have been one of the reasons why people didn't take it seriously right away. You know, totally not strangers to tragedy and to emergencies. Obviously, 9/11. I was a first responder to 9/11. Many thousands of people were first responders. In 1990, they had the Happy Land fire in the Bronx, which a jilted lover, as it was explained, threw a Molotov cocktail into a club, and 87 people were killed during that incident. Horrendous situation, but that's probably one of the biggest fires that New York City ever suffered, and it's, you know, as I said, we know how to deal with emergencies in New York City, and we know how to deal with post-emergency scenes. By that I mean we have an Office of Emergency Management, we have the Red Cross. These people that live in this building, they need help. Many of them may have to be relocated. Many of them lost everything. They lost their clothing. They lost all their possessions in that fire. So we need people to still respond to help these people out. And in New York City, I don't think there's any other place in the world that does it as good as New York City does. It's an amazing city, and our services are second to none. And our first responders are second to none. I'm going to play another little video from yesterday in regards to this fire. Get it up on the screen.
Rise building in the Bronx at about 11 o'clock this morning. Fire crews were seen making harrowing rescues, pulling babies and pets out of windows while smoke and flames poured out of that building. We are told that the dead were found in stairways throughout the building, overcome by smoke inhalation. Firefighters say at least 32 people now have, quote, life-threatening injuries. This is a new hour of Fox News Live. Hello, everyone. I'm Eric Shawn.
And I'm Marthel Neville. Hi, Eric. More than 200 firefighters responded to the scene within a matter of minutes, but crews say icy conditions made it difficult to put out the flames. They're saying the fire was contained to the second and third floors, but that the smoke extended to the top of the 19-story building. This tragedy comes just days after a row house fire killed 15 people in Philadelphia. Alexis McAdams is live in the Bronx now with the very latest. Alexis.
Arthel, this is absolutely heartbreaking here. We're talking to neighbors and people who live in that Bronx apartment building behind me that say they couldn't see in front of them because that smoke was so heavy. Those new numbers coming in from the fire commissioner moments ago saying at least 19 people dead here in that apartment fire in New York City, including several children. Still working to get exactly how many children at this time because we're getting conflicting reports. I'm going to step out of the way so you can take a closer look here at this building before we get to some of that scene video. It was a 5-alarm fire that broke out, though. Neighbors telling me they watched in horror as people and those firefighters had to carry out small children in that burning building. And they did everything they could, those firefighters, to save as many people as possible. Now let's get to the video right now. The 5-alarm fire breaking out inside of that 19-story apartment building. That's near East 181st Street in the Bronx. The building full of families and residents as that fire tore through. More than 60 people injured at this time, and at least 30 of those people have life-threatening injuries. This morning, dozens calling 911 for help inside of that building. That sent at least 200 FDNY fire crews into action immediately. Crews say several floors were full of heavy black smoke, the fire spreading rapidly between the second and third floors. People found all over the building suffering from severe smoke inhalation and many going into cardiac arrest and even respiratory arrest. Here is the commissioner talking about this tragedy. Listen.
What I do know, and we've stressed this over and over, the door to that apartment was left open, causing the fire to spread and the smoke to spread, which is always a problem for us. And as we see here, by the broken windows throughout the building, this fire took its toll on our city.
You know, it seems that the theme, of course, is fire safety. And if a fire does break out in your apartment and you flee, close the damn door. Because by doing that, the door is going to contain that fire into that apartment. It's easier for the fire department to fight a fire in one apartment than it is when it spreads throughout the building, and when the smoke especially spreads all over the building. I mean, that is a recipe for disaster. As you can see, those broken windows there that you're looking at on the screen, that like says it all. You know, you see. That's the fire department obviously broke those windows to fight the fire. Even with the revised death count, the fire was believed to be the deadliest in New York City since 1990, when 87 people amid a fire intentionally set at a Bronx nightclub. The city's fire commission, this is according to the New York Times, Daniel Nigro, blamed the numeric error on a bit of a double count by authorities trying to locate missing residents who've been scattered around the cities. They're talking about initially, it was reported that 19 people had died. It's been downgraded to 17, and I believe less. And you can understand the confusion when people are removed to different hospitals and different locations. Tough for the emergency responders to account for everyone and where everyone went to. Um, one of the obviously the thing was the space heater was it what particularly older models are well-known risk. Nationally, the use of space heaters has been linked to about 1,700 residential fires a year, resulting in roughly 80 deaths to 160 injuries, according to estimates by the U.S. Consumer Product Safety Commission. And of course, these facts are coming out by the New York Times, a New York Times article. One really good thing, of course, is that they downgraded the amount of people that were killed in this fire, and it's to be good news. So, I just wanted to give you an update on what's going on today with this fire. Um, Fortunately, as I said, it was downgraded. There was believed to be 19 um, people died. It's been downgraded to 17. And initially, I think they said there was 9 children. I think that's been downgraded to 7. So that is one sort of good news coming out of this tragic incident. Uh, Folks, some of you guys in the chat were wondering, we discussed this yesterday too, about fire escapes. Buildings over a certain amount of stories in New York City are not required to have fire escapes. They are required to have smoke detectors and stairwells that serve as escape routes in the event of fire. And again, the reason that this fire became so deadly was because of the smoke and the fact that doors were not closed. Doors that uh, are expected to automatically close. I think they may be held open via magnets, and when they're demagnetized, all the doors close at the same time. So, was the door on the third floor? Did it malfunction? What occurred that created this effect that allowed this fire, just the smoke from it, just to go throughout the building? Horrendous situation. So, folks, on a happier note, tonight, myself and Phil Grimaldi, we have a guest who I've been trying to get on the show um, for God, probably over a year, and his name is Gil Carrillo. And Gil was a Los Angeles Sheriff's Department officer for 38 years. He started out as a detective, and he retired as a lieutenant, where he became the commander of the very homicide squad, where he was a standout detective. And he happened to be the catching detective in the Night Stalker case, the Richard Ramirez case. So we're going to have him on tonight. I'm so excited about having him on. I've spoken to him on the phone numerous times, and he's a real gem. When I say a gem of a guy, what a guy. And we can't we're going to talk about the Night Stalker case, but I can't dig real deep because I sounded like I had a stutter there. Dig. I can't dig very deep because he is contractually tied to some TV and movie companies that are still trying to do. Netflix last year did a 4-part series on the Night Stalker, and if you don't know about the case and you never watched that Netflix series, it's unbelievable. In my career in the NYPD, which spanned almost 27 years, and I had 16 years in the Detective Bureau, my last almost 10 in the Homicide Squad. I've seen some real bad people, evil people, and I don't know if people really recognize what evil is, because when you talk about serial killers, there has this mystique where people almost this guy Ramirez was getting marriage proposals from women as he was awaiting trial. I mean, I find that horrendous. This guy killed 13 people and did unspeakable things in the way of sexual crimes to children. And people are enamored with him because he's a serial killer. I never could fully understand that. I was always like baffled as like, how do people admire this guy? I just don't get it. The truth. The Night Stalker was captured by civilians who recognized him from a wanted poster and attacked him. Correct? That is 100% correct. That was a big decision in the Night Stalker case. He was positively identified And there was a sort of a command decision. Do we put his picture out in all the newspapers? Do we put his picture out on television so that we could get help uh, from the community in capturing this guy? And initially, I believe that the powers that be, or at least the detectives, they didn't want to do that. Of course, they wanted to put their handcuffs on him. But when public safety is involved in a situation like that, you have to err on the side of caution. And they put his picture all over the place. And sure enough, he comes back to LA. I think he was in another jurisdiction committing murders. And he's recognized on the street by the crowd. And they chase him down, and they would have beaten him to death had the police not intervened. And I always thought, the irony of it. The crowd wanted to beat him to death, but the government wanted to give him the death penalty. And it turned out that I'm not going to tell you the end of this, just the fact that there's some amazingly interesting aspects to the Night Stalker case. And when you talk about an evil, evil, evil serial killer, I can't think of anyone in my lifetime. I mean, you have the Jeffrey Dahmers, uh, you have the John Wayne Gacy's, um, evil people, evil people. But the Night Stalker was Diablo, right? He was the devil himself. And again, many people admired this guy for some reason. I just do not get it. Folks, this is Coffee with Cannon, and we are a subsidiary of Police Off the Cuff Real Crime Stories. In fact, we're such a subsidiary, but that I'm the same guy that does both shows. And tonight, of course, I'll be accompanied by my co-host, the affable and straight out of Brooklyn, Phil Grimaldi. And he is looking forward to this. Yeah, that's right. And Phil Grimaldi wants to publicize he's doing another episode of Cop in the Kitchen, and he's going to teach everyone how to make veal parmesan. It's coming very, very soon. And Phil's just waiting to have his kitchen available. He'll totally empty out his kitchen in an Italian household. In any household, that's not an easy thing to do. So he's waiting until his kitchen gets empty, and he can do a great Cop in the Kitchen episode with Phil Grimaldi teaching us all how to make veal parmesan. In fact, I want to listen to that too, even though I'm part of the show. I'm not a world-class cook by no means, so I can definitely. Crystal Champion, he can discuss the Night Stalker case, but not in great, great depth. We're going to talk about it. And if he feels uncomfortable with any of our questions, if our questions are going too deep, if we're spending too much time on it, he'll tell us. But Gil Carrillo had an amazing police career. He also is a Vietnam veteran, so it goes back when he was 17. He went to Vietnam and he saw action. He saw battle in Vietnam, and so he's had an amazing, amazing life. This Thursday, I have Dan Bibb coming on, who, if you never heard his name before, he's a retired Manhattan district attorney, and now he's a defense attorney, but he was an amazing prosecutor with the Manhattan DA's office, and he's going to come on Thursday night, and we're going to talk about the whole controversy with Alvin Bragg and the decision, the memo he put out to his staff about not wanting to prosecute certain offenses, which he, as a retired district attorney, finds outrageous. Dan Bibb is a brilliant guy. He's now, as I said, he's now a defense attorney. He's the most honest guy you could ever meet. He actually refused to prosecute a case that he felt the defendants were innocent in regards to the case. And he, in essence, he blew the prosecution on purpose because he thought justice should be that he couldn't prosecute two innocent guys. And I think that sort of ended his career at the Manhattan DA's office, a job that he loved doing. He loved being a prosecutor. He loved working for the Manhattan DA's office. So you don't frequently see honesty to that level, but Dan Bibb is one of those guys. Um, I think that we spoke about a lot. This whole thing with ADA Bragg is it's going to be ugly. It's going to be ugly because it also doesn't. It puts the police in a bad situation. That, for example, when people don't comply with the lawful orders of the police, if you don't have the district attorney's office backing you up uh, with prosecutorial, for example, resisting arrest, he's talking about not following through on resisting arrest cases. Now, if even doing a traffic stop, say if an officer says, "Let me have your license and registration, insurance card," and someone says, "No, I'm not giving it to you," what does the officer at that point have to do? Does he just let the person go because they've refused the lawful order of a police officer? Or does he kick it up to the next level and say, "Step out of the car"? And what if they say no? What do you do then as a sworn police officer? Well, I'll tell you what you do. You pull the person out of the car with force and you handcuff them and they're under arrest. But what if now the district attorney's office refuses to back you up for using force for a traffic stop? You can understand what the situation that this puts a police officer in, and I think that there's some people calling themselves emancipated citizens or something, and they were claiming, "I don't go by the laws of this country or this state." Oh, really? Oh, really? Okay, we're gonna let that go, and we're just gonna let you tell us that you don't abide by the laws of this state and this country. I want to play a short video of a city council member speaking about Alvin Bragg's plan not to prosecute several crimes that have been prosecuted in the past.
To make a blanket top-down diktat. Do not charge people with serious crimes.
He's only been in office for 10 days, and already there are calls for Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg to step down or be removed.
Pro-criminal, anti-cop, anti-public safety.
There's been so much misinformation. There are people that do not want this to succeed.
The controversy began last week when Bragg sent out this memo to assistant district attorneys in Manhattan. Bragg informed prosecutors they should no longer seek jail or prison time for many low-level crimes and for some robbery, assault, and gun possession cases where no other crimes are involved.
So Alvin Bragg, stop hugging the thugs and start prosecuting the thugs.
Exactly.
That's your job.
Today, two Republican candidates for governor, Congressman Lee Zeldin and Andrew Giuliani, both held press conferences saying DA Bragg will leave the streets of Manhattan less safe.
DA Alvin Bragg is refusing to do his job and enforce the law. So Governor Kathy Hochul needs to do her job and remove the district attorney of Manhattan.
District Attorney Bragg spoke with our political talk show, Picks on Politics, trying to set the record straight, saying his office will be focused on sending violent people to jail and not people who need help.
If you are suffering from addiction or mental health and you commit a low-level crime, we're going to get you the services you need. We're not going to incarcerate you.
And on the issue of violent crime, Bragg insisted it's his top priority.
You hit a law enforcement officer, you're going to be prosecuted. That's very serious. I have prosecuted armed robbery throughout my career. You go into a store with a gun and rob it, we're going to prosecute that.
Well, pretty amazing. And one of the things is that he's claiming that is misinformation. There's no misinformation. You put out an 8-page memo. We can read. We can understand what you wrote. Jamie Pimentel, you're so right. I had it wrong. What I was referring to before was the term I meant to say is people that claim to be sovereign citizens, whereas the law of a state of the country does not apply to them because they're free. They only follow their own laws. You're right, Jamie. Thank you for that comment. I always mess up that term, a sovereign citizen. Yeah, I'm a sovereign citizen too, but I follow the laws. There's something crazy to it that I wanted to talk about. There's something called restorative justice. I don't know if you guys have ever heard it. When I used to teach college, I taught a lot of those crazy theories of corrections, and one of them was restorative justice. And it comes out of it's called diversion. It comes out of diversion where there's programs, counseling, rehab, psych services. But restorative justice is the craziest thing that I've ever heard. And what it is it's a system of criminal justice that focuses on rehabilitation of offenders through reconciliation with victims and the community at large. I just don't get that. So in essence, if someone robs me, someone shoots me, instead of putting them in prison, we're going to have them meet with me. We're going to sit at a table together, drink cafe con leche and some cookies, and we're going to work this out. That's not okay with me, and that's not okay with most citizenry. And that's called restorative justice. I've never heard of such. Well, I have heard of it because I used to teach a course in corrections when I taught college, and when I read that, I was like, how does this make any sense? How does it make any sense um, to victims? You're going to sit with the mutt that robbed you, the mutt that shot you, the mutt that invaded your home, the mutt that burglarized your home. You're going to sit with them and you're going to sing kumbaya together. I mean, it's so crazy. And then there's other things. I believe in. There's this guy. His name was Hammurabi. I don't know if you guys know who he was. And he has a code. And Hammurabi's code goes like this: an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. That's what I believe in. I don't believe in restorative justice, and I believe that when people commit certain crimes, there should be a jail cell for them, a prison cell for them, not restorative justice or diversion. How does diversion work for the victim? How does that work, diversion? How do you, I have to mention this. The other night, I think got to be 2, 3 nights ago, on 116th Street, right near Lexington Avenue. I believe it was in the confines of the 2-5 precinct. A 19-year-old girl working behind a counter at a Burger King was held up at gunpoint. She had turned over the money, and the perp shot her anyway. Shot her in the stomach, and guess what? Killed her. Snuffed out the life of a 19-year-old girl trying to work at one of these Burger Kings, maybe to put herself through college. I don't know exactly what she was doing outside, but I would bet when they catch this guy, and they will catch this guy, that he's going to be one of these people that got diversion or is out on parole or is out on bail. The criminal justice system, they think that they can, yeah, Crystal Champion, probably on drugs, alcohol, all of those things. But, I don't believe in these feel-good programs, these diversionary programs. I remember when I was in homicide, a guy in a 2-8 wearing a prison ankle bracelet went outside his apartment and shot 2 people. So much for monitoring the person with the electronic monitor. That's another thing. Let's keep them in the community. Why? What are they doing for the community? Their families miss them. Their families can go visit them in prison. I mean, it's just outrageous. I have Alvin Bragg's manifesto there that he sent to all of his DAs. I have it here somewhere. Yeah, there we go. I have so many papers here. And so he wrote an 8-page basically memo to his employees, to his other DAs, and a lot of really good district attorneys, experienced district attorneys, now they're all leaving because they can't stomach this stuff. This is progressive nonsense. And it just so happened, and without getting deeply into politics, George Soros donated $1 million to his campaign. When will we not allow millionaires and billionaires sway elections because they have lots of money? I mean, I find that, and whether it was the Koch brothers that gave to conservative groups and Republican groups, or Soros who's giving to liberal groups, I'm against it. I don't think you should be able to sway someone that much. He gave $1 million to Alvin Bragg's campaign. These ideas, I have the memo right in front of me. The office of the district attorney for Manhattan will no longer prosecute the following charges unless as part of an accusatory instrument containing at least one felony count. Marijuana misdemeanors, okay, that's fine. Jumping the turnstile, that they call it refusing to pay your fare. So jumping the turnstile. And we in the New York City Police Department found that to be one of the most important tools we had, because to keep the subway safer, most people that are going to be committing crimes on the subway system are not paying their fare. So if you can arrest them when they commit that theft of service misdemeanor, which is no longer misdemeanor now, it's a civil matter, you can stop a lot of future crimes. For example, that person that just jumped the turnstile. Now you have what's called search incidental to lawful arrest. The officer can search him, and voila, experience shows us that many times these guys jump in a turnstile, have knives, guns, and other weapons on them, and they can be thwarted right there before they stick a gun in someone's face on the subway. Although that could be a petty larceny, as long as they don't shoot the person. Um, Trespass, except if it has anything to do with stalking. Aggravated unlicensed operation, that's 511 of the VTL. Aggravated unlicensed operation. And that might sound like a simple thing. It's a vehicle and traffic law thing, but people that commit crimes, they regularly don't have licenses. They drive without insurance. So when they run into a family of 4 and kill 3 of them, it's not important enough for the Manhattan DA to prosecute. And I'm not saying prosecuting that instance. I'm talking about prosecuting them from aggravated unlicensed operator before they get to kill a family of 4. Any violation, traffic infraction, or other non-criminal offense not accompanied by a misdemeanor or a felony. Resisting arrest, except for the act of resisting arrest for, say, any crime not included on this declination list. So is the DA's office going to back up police officers that are enforcing vehicle and traffic laws if the person refuses to comply and then resist? Or is the DA's office going to say, oh, no, you escalated this, officer, we're not going to back you up. We're not going to prosecute this. And as to be a good officer and to be proactive, you need the district attorney's office to back you. If they don't back you, you're in big trouble because you could be sued for false arrest. So if they don't prosecute these little offenses, officers already are in precarious situations here, obstructing governmental administration, other than for an act of significantly physically interfering with the lawful arrest of another person. And here we go. He defines that further. Significant physical interference includes, at a minimum, the acts of shoving, tackling, pushing, punching, and other similar acts. Otherwise, this charge must be approved by the ECAB supervisor. So unless you punch, kick, pinch, tackle the officer, they're not gonna charge that. Prostitution, there's a whole other bunch of crimes that you may think that it should be legalized. Whatever your opinion is, I'm not that concerned about that. Misdemeanor charges for which a desk appearance ticket is required by law shall be offered diversion. That's what we were talking about. Diversion is counseling, drug counseling, alcohol counseling, mental health counseling. That's diversion. So for things that you are eligible for a DAT now, they're going to offer diversion. I mean, where does he get off doing this? He's a district attorney. He's not a legislator. He's not making the law. He's supposed to prosecute the law. I'm not going to read all of this stuff because but as you can see, he's hiding behind technicalities. And, unless you have the memo in front of you when he says there's a lot of misinformation, but the big one, of course, and the big ones that caught the attention of everyone is, and this was actually in the New York Post the other day, armed robbers who use guns or other deadly weapons to stick up stores and other businesses will be prosecuted only for petty larceny, a misdemeanor, provided no victims were seriously injured and there's no genuine risk of physical harm to anyone. Armed robbery, a Class B felony, would typically be punishable by a maximum of 25 years in prison, while petty larceny subjects offenders to up to 364 days in jail and a $1,000 fine. That is what's scaring the shit out of everyone in this city. It's scaring the shit out of the police. It's scaring everyone, every good citizen. So a mutt with a gun in his hand can go into a commercial establishment, stick that gun in your face like he did to the girl on 116th Street off of Lexington at that Burger King, and demand the money, demand your jewelry, demand whatever he wants. And as long as he doesn't shoot you, he can walk out of there and be charged with a misdemeanor. That is sheer lunacy. And I cannot see that I cannot see that stand. How can that stand? Any society that allows that is going to, erupt into just a society where you don't want to live in. So why are we coddling these mutts? And how about the person that has a gun stuck in their face? What about their mental health? How about their physical health? How about their sleeping pattern? You think you're going to be able to sleep thinking about that gun stuck in their face? How about the poor family of the girl, the 19-year-old girl in that Burger King in East Harlem on 116th Street? How do you think they're going to feel? You think maybe, yeah, well, as I said, when this guy's caught, and he will be caught, I guarantee you he's going to have an extensive rap sheet. So these diversion programs, they do not work. All right. And I define, or I demand Alvin Bragg to show me a city, a municipality, they've tried this, and show me where it's worked. Show me statistics. Has it worked in Chicago, which is a war zone? Has it worked in Baltimore? Has it worked in San Francisco? Has it worked in Seattle? Tell me where it's worked. This is all outliers of the defund the police movement. It's all part of the anti-police movement, and it's disgusting. It really is disgusting. So I don't want to go on I already started ranting. This is not ranting with Bill or bitching with Bill. It's supposed to be coffee with Cannon. Coffee with Cannon. You got your mug there. And guys, if you're not subscribed, please go on our YouTube. Hit that subscribe button. Ring the bell. Give us a thumbs up. We could use your support on our Patreon. We have 3 levels to our Patreon: the bucket, polish my rack, and dipped in butter. I think it's $6.99, $7.99, and $9.99, the levels, and I could be wrong, but we could use your help. We also have a YouTube family membership. Any of the folks that are in the chat right now that have green font, they're members of our YouTube family, and we really appreciate them. And we have 5 levels. The bucket for $2.99 a month, $6.99 a month, coffee with Cannon, $9.99 a month, polish my rack, $24.99 a month, you're dipped in butter, and the premier level of our YouTube family membership there, $49.99 a month, which we have 1 member supporting us, heated, dipped in butter. And I want to thank that gentleman for doing that. And so again, guys, this is Coffee with Cannon. I'm so glad so many of you joined me today. It's these are strange times. I mean, just there's sort of a secret thing going on right now, and won't tell you where I got this information, but some of these high-end stores are visiting Washington D.C. and demanding from Congress that they do something about the smash and grabs. That's how outrageous it is that store owners have to go to Congress and demand that something be done about these smash and grabs. Because could you imagine that? They have to demand that they allow the police to do their job. Crazy. And guess what? The police want to do their job. They really, really want to do their job. But there's some wackos out there that don't want the police to do their job. And they're pacifying the criminal element. And imagine owning a store. And, you're a capitalist these days. Oh, you got a bad reputation. Oh, my God, you're trying to make money for you and your family. So let's just let these mutts come in and just, like hyenas, and just fleece the store, take whatever they want, do whatever damage they want, and we're not gonna lock them up. And the Braggs, the ADA Braggs of this country, they may say, "Oh, it's only a misdemeanor," you know. The other charge that I didn't get deeply into also is burglary. The progressives call burglary a nonviolent crime. Can you believe that? Burglary, a nonviolent crime, Don't get me started. See, you got me from coffee with Cannon to bitching with Bill. See what happens? It's very easy for me to turn into that. It's to bitching with Bill instead of coffee with Cannon. Nikki Bella, I'm going to read some of you guys that are in the chat. Of course, Richella Pranzo and Pete Pranzo here, 2 of our biggest supporters and fans. Lynn Harvey. Hello, Lynn Harvey. If you're not subscribed, please do so. Crystal Champion, Escape from New York. Phil Grimaldi, my co-host tonight. Marie Green, victims have no rights. The criminals get away with it. Yeah, it's turning into that, right? And, just a quick aside to that, how does Eric Adams come in as a law and order mayor without having the district attorney's office on board so that he supports the very police that Eric Adams is trying to push to do the right thing? We're going to see what the statistically, we're going to see where crime goes statistically with this new district attorney. And I would predict, and not to be you know, a bearer of bad news, but I would predict it's going to go up. It's just crazy. Meglo, I saw a Bill interview on criminal cases being a light sentence. I'm not sure what you mean by that, Meglo. Crystal Champion 1.1 equals 2. All right, guys, I went overboard. I always think I'm gonna, cut it short, but I actually went longer than I intended. So tonight, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, because many of you California people and people from all over the world, it's 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The great retired Detective Gil Carrillo, actually retired lieutenant, that's how he ended his career, the case detective of the Night Stalker case, is coming on Police Off the Cuff, Real Crime Stories, 9 p.m. Guys, have a wonderful day. Thanks for allowing me to rant, bitching with Bill, and I'll see you tonight, hopefully at 9 p.m. Have a great night and be safe.